And so you will get all the content, definitely verbally and ultimately in readable fashion. And with that, I'll turn it over to Bonney and Diane.
Thank you so much, Adrienne, and we're very honored to be part of this Massachusetts Animal Coalition webinar series. And I think I'll just jump right in so that we can get the information you all joined us to hear about today. So again, welcome. We are just so glad to have you all here. I think Diane's advancing the slides for us. Okay, so today we're going to cover the opportunities for year-end fundraising, what to communicate to your donors, simple things that can enhance your fundraising success between now and the end of the year, and several specific, in fact, 9 specific ideas for simple, effective fundraising themes or strategies that you can use in these last 11 weeks of 2022. So I'm going to turn things over to my colleague Diane, and we have a quick poll for you, which we will try to run. Hopefully that works. If it doesn't, we will just have you post in chat. Oh, there we go. Just giving it another minute or two here. Okay, it looks like
yep.
We've got a response. So
49%.
Sorry.
I was going to take it over. Go ahead.
Okay, no, go ahead. Can you see it, Diane? I wasn't sure
Yep.
you could. Great.
Yep. So yeah, so there's 48% that said we don't yet have a plan. 30% said we have a plan and feel okay about it. 7%, only 7% said we have a solid fundraising strategy. And of course, the rest is the 16% that not sure applicable. So if you combine have a plan and have a solid strategy, that's what, about 36%. So a little over a third, which is actually pretty good. A lot of organizations do not, which is that indicated here with the 49% that said that they do not. I think don't at all feel bad about that. We're going to talk about things that will help you create the plan, and you can always put a plan together for next year, as well as you can still work with what you have for the end of this year. So I love this particular quote. It was made by Richard Avanzino years ago, who was a pioneer in the field, and it's very simplistic and yet very profound. It says, do good work, tell people about it, and ask them to help. All of us are doing good work. Some people tell some people about it, and but usually not enough, and some even less actually ask for specific help. So we're going to talk about how to do that and be more effective for that, especially obviously at this really critical time at the end of the year. So it really is a product, at least the end of the year fundraising, of what you've been doing throughout the year. You're getting your name out there in a variety of ways. And this is kind of the culmination of that. And it's certainly not too late to get involved. And as I mentioned earlier, you can create your plan for 2023 in January. So worry about next year at that time. And right now, just focus on the end of the year, even if it's not part of an overall plan. And just want to make sure that you always have your messaging fun and positive. And that's why we included these, just to show you some of the fun ways that we promoted our organization and raised funds back when Bonney and I were at Nevada Humane Society. So as I mentioned, the end of the year is a very critical time, and it's really a lot like retail businesses, where they bring in a good majority of their revenue in the last quarter. So as you can see here, it says 31% of annual giving occurs in December alone. And some nonprofits bring in as much as 50% of their total charitable giving from end of year asks, excuse me. So this is why it's so critical. And as I said earlier, and we'll continue to say, it's not too late to take advantage of this particular holiday season. So the two largest online giving days of the year are Giving Tuesday, which is November 29th this year, and December 31st, which is the last day of the year. It's really critical that you focus on these, and the online giving can be as much as 10% of all of the giving for the year. But as you can see in the very last sentence here, surprisingly, a third of organizations don't communicate with their donors at all at this period of time. And I know we're going to talk more specifically about this, and especially Giving Tuesday. But I think some think that, especially like Giving Tuesday, everybody's doing it. So is it really worth it? And do we really want to bother people, especially when folks have been struggling, not only getting through the pandemic and inflation and so forth, but we're going to talk more about why it's still important and how effective it can be. And it has, according to Forbes, remained high in 2022, the charitable giving. There are people that, in some cases, because they don't feel like they've been able to do other things, that's one way they can participate. And you want to be sure that your organization is in the forefront. So when they are ready to give, they know how to give and who to give to, and especially you all. And this is a great chart that shows how charitable giving is distributed. This was for 2021. I know with a lot of organizations that we work with, they tend to think that the individual giving is not the highest number, that grants and or events can be or think they are the highest. But the individual giving is really where you have the most potential. And as you can see, when you're talking about $310 billion plus in 2021, that's a lot of money to be shared around. And corporate giving here is only 4% of the total. So we really want to focus on that individual giving, especially at this time of year when people are in more of a giving mode. And I'm going to turn it back over to Bonney with another poll.
Okay, we have another poll for you. We're curious to hear about your messaging strategy between now and the end of the year. Do you already have a clear idea of what you're going to say to your supporters? Maybe you just have a general idea, but nothing too specific. If you're not sure yet, or maybe this just doesn't apply to you. Okay, it looks like most of the responses are in. So 37% of people said they have a general idea. 30% said they don't really have a very clear idea yet. 20% say that they really are pretty well set on this and know exactly what to say. So with that, I'm going to move on to the next slide. Okay. So what to say? So one of the most important pieces of advice we can offer when you're thinking about what to communicate to your donors is to share some much needed good news, something uplifting. I just got an email from an organization that I support today that said, only open if you want some positive news, and it was spelled, positive, P-A-W. So it certainly got me to open the email. And I think in general, we are all hungry for some positive news with the world such as it is today. And you can provide that because we have a nearly endless access to good stories. And as Diane said, you're all doing great work. If anyone isn't muted, if you can mute yourself, it will help with the sound quality. Thanks so much. So, tell that story about how your organization saved an injured animal that arrived at the shelter, or that you were able to help someone keep a pet that they loved by providing food through your food bank, or maybe you rescued kittens and they're now in foster care. Share those positive stories that have good outcomes. And there's a lot, go ahead, Diane. There's a lot to be said for storytelling. As humans, we're pretty much hardwired for stories. From prehistory, before we had written language, that's how we passed down information and shared information with each other, and how generations shared things in a memorable form so that we could learn from past experience. And so stories resonate for us right away. And in fact, there's been research around this that shows that donors tend to give twice as much when they are presented with a story, as opposed to a lot of data or just some reference to, a group. So a specific individual is kind of the magic element there in telling that story that's going to move donors to give. Pictures are also critically important, and you want to show an animal with a person. You want to be sure they're nice and clear and crisp. You want to crop the photos to focus attention, so you don't want a lot of distracting stuff in the background. And you want to be sure that you're presenting your photos large enough that they have an emotional impact. No little postage stamp photos. They don't really resonate. And if you look at these two photos here, you can see that the fun quality of the dog one and the eyes of the kitten really do draw you in and engage you. And so if you don't have a good photographer, you can seek one, a volunteer who could help with that. Thanking supporters really enthusiastically is such a crucial element of fundraising, because whenever people are thanked, it really cultivates the spirit of giving, and it promotes more giving. So while it may seem like a waste of time to thank someone who delivered a bag of cat food to your facility, not thanking them doesn't have the desired effect of encouraging greater philanthropy from that individual, not only to your organization, but to organizations in general. And I cannot tell you how many times I've had donors tell me that they gave and never heard a peep, or maybe they heard one peep, but that was it. They never were, nobody kept in touch with them. A colleague of mine had the opportunity to make bequests for a friend that was departed. And she was giving away between $5,000 and $40,000 to a variety of organizations. And I think of them all, 2 of them have bothered to keep in touch. And, she commented on that, and it doesn't really inspire you to give again. So whenever anyone gives you money, you want to document their information, and you want to be sure you're staying in touch, especially with people who have given substantial sums. And, you want to be thanking supporters, not only with thank you notes and calls and such, but in your appeals. And the word thank you is just a very powerful word, and you can weave it into your communications with your donors. The word you is another very powerful word. And if you think about what you're writing, you can often frame things in such a way to include the word you in there. I just was watching another webinar, because I'm always doing that to try to improve the way we do things. And the speaker said the magic happens in the editing. And so think about that. Yes, you want to get your first ideas down on the page, but if you can share it with a couple of other people and have them help you edit it, and if you can refine your own writing, you will be able to make magic happen in your appeals. And another key thing to include in your communication between now and the end of the year is really clearly explaining how people can help and how it's going to make a difference. You want to make a very specific request. This is counterintuitive. Often we feel like if we ask for something too specific that people will tune out. But in reality, the more clear and specific your request is, the better the results, because you're not hoping people can, fill in the dots. You're actually clearly asking them for what is needed, and you're telling them what difference it will make if they provide that. It's crucially important in your communications.
Okay, so I'm going to proceed with another poll. Is, do you have a donor database or otherwise track donors and their preferences? So let me actually pull up and launch that poll. All right, looks like most people have responded. So we have 38% that says we have a software program for donor contacts, 28% we have a spreadsheet for them, 17% we don't have our donor contacts organized, and 17 not sure. So that's actually pretty good. So you're talking about like 2/3 of you have some way of tracking the donors. We're going to talk a little bit more about that in just a second. So let me end that poll and advance the slide here. So your contacts really are your most valuable asset, because as long as you have them, you can always ask for support and ask for funds. You don't necessarily are able to easily afford maybe a software package. Some of them can be quite expensive, although there are ones like Little Green Light, which is what we use, that are very reasonably priced. But when Bonnie and I first started out in Nevada Humane Society years ago, I mean, a lot of these software packages didn't exist, and we used Excel. We used Excel for a lot of things in those early days because it was cheap and easy, and not necessarily providing the functionality that you might need. But when you're small and getting going, it really can serve the purpose. But the most important thing is that you get that information, and that you get it all into one place. You want to be sure that you are including really everybody that you have contact with. Volunteers can be a very good source of donors or donations. Your adopters maybe not as much, but certainly any other client services that you have, those are also great sources of potential giving, and be sure that you're including them in your database. Now, I talked about Giving Tuesday earlier, which is November 29th. We want to be sure that everybody's participating in that. As I mentioned earlier, a lot of people think that, there's so many different organizations participating that, well, how do we stand a chance? But it really is a day that's bringing the light, the whole concept of giving, and making everybody think about it. So they're going to give somewhere, those that are in the giving mode. So just want to make sure that you're out front with your own supporters, and in a way that's going to entice them to give more during this charitable season. Again, we mentioned that last week of the year, it's great to mail out an appeal. We'll talk about those more later too, but to make it arrive like right after Thanksgiving or early December. And sometimes some of these, like the end of the year or these special days, are helping create a sense of urgency. Another way to do that is to have a matching gift challenge. If you have a donor that is going to regularly give to you, or would be willing to give at this time, that can be part of a matching gift challenge. It's going to make them happy because they know that their contribution is being doubled, but it's also going to be a great incentive to other donors, because they know that they can make a bigger difference by participating in this challenge. And then also a variety of end of the year fundraising campaigns that helps folks keep it top of mind and realize this is kind of their last chance for this year to be able to make a charitable contribution. More about the matching gifts. You'll probably see in the Giving Tuesday, if those of you that participated or you do participate, there's a lot of organizations that do it for that Giving Tuesday, but you can do it for other campaigns as well. You just want to be sure that you advertise it and help track to make sure everybody knows that they are, you know, what difference that they are making with their particular contribution and how it's being doubled by the match. Videos are very important. Bonney talked about photos, which, you know, are obviously great, but videos are even better. And sometimes I know it's challenging for organizations that don't necessarily have a videographer on staff, but you probably have somewhere out there in your support world, in your volunteers or donors, people that do have that expertise, and don't hesitate to reach out to them and ask if they'd be willing to help you with this. Another thing you can do too is to take photos and put them together in a video with some quotes and you know, touching words on the situation. So it doesn't necessarily have to be video to still be impactful. Emails, I'm sure these days we all organizations send out emails probably more than anything else in some ways, but a way to increase the percentage of being opened, because we all are getting tons of emails from a lot of different sources, is to make sure it's from an individual. And most organizations are using some kind of application to do their mass mailing via email, whether it's MailChimp or Constant Contact or some of the others that exist. But if you do make it from a person, there's a 28% increase that it will be open. And this is a feature that is available in all of the mainstream mass email applications. Now you want to make sure you get people's attention. You want to make sure it's easy for them to give. I know we work with a lot of different clients and seen websites where you have to go to multiple pages in order to finally get to the point where you do give, or it's just so confusing that you don't really understand how to give, and you get, if you're like me, you get impatient and give up. So you just want to make sure it's clear, it's easy. And one way to test that is to try it out yourself. You know, make a $5 donation and just see how easy it is for you. I also think it's great, and we've done this in the past, is to get some other people to do, especially people that aren't part of your organization, and ask them to test it for you and give you feedback on what does and doesn't work well for them. And another trick is to be able to not only have the donated amounts listed there, but you'll see in a couple cases here where they're highlighted, a certain amount is highlighted, and that tends to increase the likelihood that somebody's going to donate that amount. And also having some kind of meters like you see at the bottom, or sometimes it's a thermometer that if you're raising for a particular purpose, so they can see how close they are and what a difference that they're making. All righty, so now I'm going to hand it back over to Bonney.
Thanks. So what should your year-end efforts include? Once you have your message clear, or messages that you're going to be putting out during the holiday season, you want to put those messages out over as many different channels as you possibly can. As a field, we tend to over-rely on social media, and the algorithms are constantly changing. And as it stands right now, if you post something on your social media, you can be quite sure that the majority of the people who have already, you know, selected to follow your organization are not going to see your message in their feed. So it's very, it's no longer a really reliable way to reach all of your supporters unless you pay to boost the post. So we are strongly recommending, we always have, but even more than ever, recommending that organizations are putting out their messages in multiple ways. Direct mail is still incredibly strong and powerful. Email appeals, as Diane mentioned. You also want to be reaching out to conventional media about any stories you have. They're always looking for short, little happy endings to stick on the end of newscasts. And there are opportunities sometimes to write for your local paper. You won't get paid, but you could get your story out there. Look into a variety of conventional media ways to get your word out. I would advocate that every organization should have a paid advertising budget. I realize this is impossible when you're small and scrappy, but as the organization grows, it is a very valuable strategy to employ for paid advertising. And by events, I mean, getting out there in the community. You can attend events and table. There's often a lot of holiday craft fairs. There may be ways that you can get a team of people who are willing to help get out there for the holiday season for your organization. So in short, you want to get the word out through as many different channels and as many different ways as you possibly can between now and January 1st. So some specific themes. I promised you we would share 9 ideas, and we are going to do that now. But just to reiterate something Diane said, you really want to keep it positive and fun. So here we go with the first of the 9 suggestions. And Diane talked about this quite a bit, but Giving Tuesday is the single biggest online giving day of the year. And so, even though there is a lot of competition, you really want to be sure that you are getting it out there as very best you can. These are a variety of posters that I went online and selected from different organizations. You can see, the great photos. They're using the matching gift concept that Diane suggested. All of these are nice themes. And one of the great things about our field is you don't have to, be a creative genius all on your own. You can borrow other people's great ideas. And I thought all of these are just lovely, and I'm sure did quite well for their organizations. The next slide has a series of images from best friends, and they really are the masters at creating a kind of magical feel to things. And as you sort of really do get that from these particular posters, right, and the images in them. And if you can find a photographer willing to help you, I would just put the word out there and try to find someone who's willing to come and take photos. I have never made an effort to do that and not found anybody. There are many generous photographers out there who are willing to help. You will notice that again, they are using the matching gifts. These are best friends ads. And also they are saying in the lower one, it says today. And so asking people to give today is powerful in general, but of course, especially when it comes to Giving Tuesday. Now, we were going to play this video for you, but we kept attempting to play it, and it was so pixelated that we are not going to waste your time by us playing it, but we will send you this link separately. It's the SPCA of Northern Nevada, and it's a very visually impactful, and I think they do a great job with the music. Again, it's fairly short. It is approaching 2 minutes though, and the advice of most experts are the shorter the better, and typically they recommend no more than 90 seconds. So that's a minute and a half if you plan to share it on social media or through email, which of course you would be doing. But an important point about this video when you watch it is, even though they have their logo inserted in the little Giving Tuesday, I don't know what organization this is. So apart from saying how wonderful the video is and how you could use it as a model for yourself potentially, I would make sure I got the name of my organization out there early and often in the videos, even if it's just a little signature line with the name and logo. What else was I going to say about this? Oh, and the pre-planning for Giving Tuesday is so crucial. So if we go on to the next slide, I think I talk about peer-to-peer fundraising and a great platform for that. Yesterday, I watched 2 different webinars other people were giving on Giving Tuesday. And Mighty Cause, for example, if you decide to use that platform, actually is recommending that people start on the 15th. Network for Good, I believe, also has some specific online platforms, but I am more familiar with using Mighty Cause, and we don't endorse them and we don't get anything from them. We just have used them and found it to be helpful. It's especially helpful in promoting peer-to-peer fundraising, which is definitely another strategy you want to try to employ. Some of you may already do peer-to-peer fundraising. For example, if you have a walk for animals and you're asking people to go and get their friends and family to pledge and to give so much money for them for doing the walk event or the run or whatever the challenge event is that you have. But peer-to-peer fundraising can also be accomplished largely online, and Mighty Cause has a very easy to use platform for that enables people to create their own fundraising page. So I could create Bonney's fundraising page for the Massachusetts Animal Coalition, for example, and share it with all my friends through various social media platforms. And I could also email all my coworkers at work and say, I'm supporting Mass Animal Coalition, and I'd like you to look at my fundraising page. And you set a goal, and it really is very effective and very easy for people to support you through peer-to-peer fundraising. They also, along with Network for Good, have some very good demos and webinars on how to for Giving Tuesday that are free. Anyway, I would strongly recommend that you just take a quick look at it, see if it might work for you. It has a lovely progress bar. I know in the past when we've done Giving Tuesday, it's like some kind of a marathon to keep up with all the giving through different channels. But if you try to channel most of it through one channel, like Mighty Cause, you have a lovely little, goal and progress bar that people can see throughout the day. Another concept that we love and have had a lot of success with in the past is Lights of Love. And what it is it's a tribute donation campaign where you ask people to make a donation in memory of or in honor of a pet or a person. And to the right, there is a flyer that we used to create and use. Now a lot more of this can just be done online. You could weigh the pros and cons of doing some kind of a print mailer to people, but it becomes a lovely way to make a gift to people, and it grows over the years. So while setting it up the first year might be a little more challenging or a little more work, each year the event tends to grow. And so I could buy tribute lights in honor of Diane's dog that passed away, and she would get a nice little acknowledgement that says what it is in memory of her dog. And the way that we used to do it was to decorate the facility with lights, but you could have a tree outside. Maybe you can even get a local company that does holiday decor. Maybe they would be happy to donate it in exchange for you promoting them through your marketing of your Lights of Love campaign. Giving Tree is another wonderful concept because it can be used in multiple ways. And here I just have a selection of images from different organizations' efforts to do this. It could also be done virtually or outdoors. It's a great way to get things from your wish list, but you could also make it more of a monetary format. Another great idea that we have had tremendous success with, and so have other organizations, is what amounts to a series of daily email emails that are recounting the very best rescues of the year. And so what it is showing cute pictures, telling the story of this particular dog or cat, and thanking the supporters for making it possible, that their donations made it possible this year for your organization to save these animals. You want to pick the very best stories. You want to be sure you have great photos for these animals, and you send an email every day, and you can count back. If you wanted them all to be sent before Christmas, I think it would probably be around December 8th if you only do it on weekdays this year. But you could go through weekends. You can choose your own calendar and schedule, and you can call it whatever works for you. A lot of organizations call it something along the lines of the 12 Saves of Christmas, but you can add in other holidays that make sense for your community. You could just call it 12 Cats or Dogs of Christmas, or celebrating the top rescues of 2022. However you do it, it's very impactful. You also do want to be sure that you're asking for donations. You're thanking and asking at the same time. I have a few more samples from different organizations here. Everyone has their own twist on this. You can see, I'm sure you get the concept that having some sort of an appealing image is very important and very helpful to the success of your campaign. And you can certainly borrow ideas from the ones I'm showing, or you can go online and do a Google search, and you will find many more images that will inspire you for this year. A pet photo contest is something that would work multiple times during the course of the year. And you could use the photos that are the winning photos on your website, on social media. That could be the prize. If you have a calendar or want to do a fundraising calendar at some point, they could work into that. It could also be, as we used it, a mural concept where the winning animals will be incorporated into some artwork done by a local artist. These campaigns, if you have a following, can be quite lucrative. One group we know of in Florida raised $55,000 doing this. A smaller spay-neuter group in Ohio raised 18. We did it for a new clinic that had very few existing followers and raised over $24,000. And Go Photo is good because what you're counting on there is the element of competition, you know, so people and their friends keep bidding up basically for that particular pet to win the contest. Home for the Holidays is just a wonderful name, and it really resonates with people because of the song, for those of you who are old enough to, or have watched enough old movies to remember it. And what it is typically an adoption campaign, but it really can double as a wonderful holiday fundraising theme. There is an official campaign that goes along with it that's run by the Helen Woodward Animal Center, which you can see their link here. But you can also just use this theme for yourself, for your organization rather, to be sure that you are coming up with something that's resonant for people and that's creating an overall theme for your efforts for the end of the year. And I'm going to talk about two different types of thankathons that we highly recommend. One is phone calls to donors. Calling donors and thanking them encourages more giving. And all you have to do is say thank you. You do not ask for more money. In fact, you definitely do not want to ask for more. It's just calling them to thank them. Board members can help with this. Skilled volunteers can help, in addition to, of course, staff. And it can definitely help if you do this going into the holidays, because then they have this warm perception of you, of this wonderful organization that appreciates them. We actually have more information on this and Lights of Love and several of the campaigns we've mentioned. So if you would like, don't hesitate to reach out to us. We're happy to share with you some more information on this particular campaign and you know, a simple basic call script that you can adapt so that you can get people help you. And second to the calling is personalized thank you notes. You know, it could be a special holiday card that your organization designs, but having something that's handwritten and personalized to say thank you. Again, no ask, just thank you is really, really important. Fundraising is about building relationships, and the only way we build relationships is through communication and showing that the relationship is two ways. It matters not only that they give us money, but that we are communicating with them about how much their support means to us. And again, really anybody who can write can copy a script into a handwritten card and send it off to people. If you don't want to do your own custom cards, the one on the top right is just a cute card I found on Etsy that's designed by an artist that would be great for a cat organization. And if I was a donor and I got that, I would really love it and really think an awful lot of that organization for expressing their gratitude and for building relationship. The last one I'm going to talk about is A Clock is Ticking. This is the fundraiser event that we recommend for the last 7 days of the year. So from the day after Christmas through New Year's Eve, you want to be promoting this. It is the last chance to give this year to help animals. And you know, even sending a few communications to people. Really, the 31st is another major giving day. And you know, according to statistics, many organizations are not reaching out to their supporters on the two biggest giving days of the year, which is Giving Tuesday and December 31st. So you want to be sure that you are reaching out to your supporters on those days. It could be a simple email. You want to make sure you're doing social posts on those days, thanking people and reminding them that it's their last chance to help this year. So to recap, Giving Tuesday, Lights of Love, Giving Tree, 12 Saves, which is the email concept where you're emailing over the course of 12 different days. Pet Photo Contest, Home for the Holidays, Thankathon, both phone and personal notes, and The Clock is Ticking. So those are our 9 top recommendations for you for between now and the end of the year.
Alrighty, well, we're going to do another poll. As do you think you might try one or more of these ideas this year? And let me open the poll. All right. Looks like, let's see, 40, gosh, almost 90% people said they would do at least one. That's awesome. I mean, this is obviously the purpose of this is to give you all practical things that you can use and try right away for this particular season. And as Bonney mentioned earlier, in particular about some, I think it was the Thankathon that we could provide specific templates and tools there. But on any of the things that we have shared with you today, if you need any guidance or any samples or templates or anything, please do reach out to us and we'll have our contact information at the end, but we're more than happy to help you individually. And this particular quote, we started out with a quote I love by Richard Avanzino, but this is my other favorite one in this field by Hank Rosso, is fundraising is the gentle art of teaching the joy of giving. This was really meaningful for me as I came into this field with zero experience in development and fundraising. I know it's intimidating to a lot of people because you think you're putting people on the spot and asking them for money. But if we really think about it this way, where we're really helping people do what they want to do. They want to give to causes that they care about. And there's lots of people out there and our supporters and others that are potential supporters that care about the cats and dogs of our communities and really want to give. They just need to know how and where and when. So it's really just helping them fulfill their joy in supporting a cause that they love. And here's that other quote again: do good work, tell people about it, and ask them for help. So we do hope that you have ideas that you said you would try and hopefully be successful and help make this end of the year fundraising season more impactful for you with a bigger return. People want to help, they're there, you just need to ask them. And so here's our contact information. The phone number and the info email actually comes directly to me. And if you want to get a hold of Bonney, I can certainly pass along information, but we do want to help you in any way we can. And I think we are going to open it now for some questions, and I believe we might have some in the chat. Bonney, were
Yes,
you going? Oh,
if
go
you
ahead.
have questions, please put them in the chat or raise your hand. I see a thank you for the ideas.
You're welcome.
I don't see any actual questions. I'd see a note from Christine saying Excel was absolutely the only way to go back in the day. So people can relate.
Actually, at NHS, we used a lot of Excel, but we had a donor had provided hotel reservation software. And believe it or not, we were using that along with Excel to track donors. There just weren't all the great options there are today.
And so Lynn Wilson notes that she loves all the ideas, but she doesn't love asking for donations, and the quotes in the last slides were great. Kristen says, this has been awesome. Thanks so much. Sarah Lewick is asking where to list your org's tax exempt number.
So you don't actually have to list it. You just have to be, willing to provide it, basically. Some organizations do post it. For example, almost everyone could find it if they wanted it on sites like, oh God, what are those? GuideStar, and I forget the
Charity
other.
Navigator.
Navigator.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. I would bet
There
that
is
if you just did a search on a search engine, you could find that.
You can find there is really no legal obligation to share it. Of course, falsifying that you are a nonprofit, that would be potentially trouble.
But we do include it like in our thank you letters that go out. We put it there and in other types of correspondence where it's relevant, so that it is easy for people to have for their tax deductions.
Right. And Diane, Karen asks if you could please go back and put up the slide with your contact info again.
Oh, absolutely. I'm so sorry. Good point.
Truly, as Diane said, if you have any questions about any of these things and want to try them, we almost always have something on all of them. So sorry, Adrian.
No worries. Christine says, regarding your advice to send an email from a person rather than just the name of the organization, what if you're an organization that doesn't feel you have anyone with name recognition that would cause someone to open that email? What do you recommend?
So I don't think the research said it mattered. I think it's just the difference between getting an email that says info at Massachusetts Animal Coalition from Adrian at Massachusetts Animal Coalition, that it's just a human rather than some entity that makes the big difference. Is that what you thought, Diane, too? Or
yeah. I mean, even though it still is a mass mailing, it just makes it feel like less like it is.
So there's a question from someone who hasn't tagged their name. It's iPhone. Thank you, iPhone. What are your thoughts on stockings hung on cat and kennel suites for people to give to an individual animal, I guess in a shelter?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it if it's worked for you in the past. I do think you're then only hitting the people who happen to be in the shelter. But you could probably do an online version of it as well, where we post photos of animals and ask people to sponsor them. And I guess it might matter, you know, if theft is an issue in your area or not. Diane might have different thoughts.
Well, I was thinking the same thing, but I think it's kind of, if you did do something like that, it seems like it would be helpful to have something posted on the kennel that's saying what it's going for, or you know what I mean? Like something, like a certain amount will, you know, feed me for a month or something, or will pay for, help me get adopted or something, or I have medical needs. Just something other than just, you know, just because. But I'm sure there are people that would do it just because they fall in love or get emotionally attached to an individual animal.
And it
But
might work really. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
No, I just going to say, but my came to thought was the part about theft, I guess, because, and I know I don't want to, it sounds like we're not very trusting, but we had a very large shelter and the animals were all over the place. So there was really no oversight. So I don't know that some people would be comfortable doing that.
Yes, we ended up buying a big Mongo donation bin that you would have had to try to run in and wrestle out of the building rather than little ones to prevent, you know, theft issues. But, you know, where that might work well is if you were hosting an open house in the clinic, in the shelter or the, you know, rescue in your facility. And, you know, during these 2-hour event period, you're going to have the stockings and people can kind of make gifts.
Have a note. Thank you. I came in late, but still have 2 pages of notes. And a question, who do you go to for planning something like a walk, a fundraising walk?
So we do have some information on planning walk events. There are also, you know, online platforms for peer-to-peer fundraising that could really help you, I think, to manage a walk event now. And so be happy to share something if you get in touch with us. And I also always recommend just do a search, find an organization that's doing it well and call them. You would be shocked how willing people are to share information and to be helpful with other organizations. So like pick an organization like Animal Humane Society in Minneapolis, Minnesota, I think. They have a huge walk. And so, you know, if you could call and get a hold of someone, they will probably in a short conversation give you a whole wealth of information about how they do it now and what works and what doesn't.
So I have a question from Rachel Max, who says, we offer services to low-income individuals, including a pet food pantry, low-cost spay neuter, etc. Is it appropriate and is it worthwhile to send a snail mail appeal to those kinds of constituencies? People who are getting low-cost support through your organization.
So
Do you mean?
Go ahead, Diane. Yeah.
No, I say, are you asking a solicitation email, you mean, to those people? I wasn't sure exactly.
I think she said it's she specifically said snail mail, a hard copy.
Yes, but I mean, I meant what's in it. Is it to solicit funds or?
Yeah, you know, I believe so.
Okay, so, and I guess the point is if they're already needing low cost services, is that appropriate to ask them for additional funds? I mean, I guess the way I feel about it is, and Bonney can add on, but you know, I just don't think it hurts because you never know, the situation can change from time to time, and sometimes people share with other people, or you know, even if somebody gives $1, it's meaningful. So I guess I wouldn't filter because of that personally, but
yeah, I mean, I don't have any experience with that, you know, particular exact situation, but clinic users give to clinics, you know, low cost clinic users give. I don't, you know, again, if you have so is that, it's just this, it raises so many questions for me. I feel like if Diane and I talk to you, we would be able to offer you better advice, because, is it solely a pet food pantry, for example? And if so, maybe we could talk to you. We do 30 to 45-minute calls with people all the time, and there's no charge. So if you want to reach out to us, I think we could give you more helpful advice that way by asking questions.
So Julie Taunton says, which of the fundraising ideas you mentioned, for example, pet photo contest, etc., raise the most money?
So I'm curious what Diane would say, but I would say it's sort of a combination of things. I do think that the 12 saves emails, if you pick great stories and photos, are incredibly impactful, but I've never done it without also doing a direct mail piece and other marketing. And so I guess I feel like the more ways you share information, the better. And just like you wouldn't ignore social media, if you do your 12 saves and you're also going to post them on your social media pages, right, on those same days, because some people are going to read the emails, some people are going to happen to see it on social media. So to me, it's using all the different channels and to do as many different campaigns as you can do well. If you can only do one, then yes, focus on one. But Diane, do you see that differently or have more advice to offer?
Yeah, I think it is about having a well-rounded plan. And there's the old adage that people need to see or hear things 7 times before they really act. And in our current life these days, we're so bombarded with so much information that research says it's even way more than that. So and it's not just the number, but it's in different ways. So I just firmly am a believer that you need to have a very diverse, robust plan that integrates a lot of different things. And I think it's, as far as what one individual type thing will do, is really also dependent on the community. It's dependent upon how much you've done, how big your existing supporter base is. So I think that might be another situation that if you reached out to us directly, that we could find out more about your organization and the specifics of your community, and could maybe help you, give you some ideas, and even help you put together a plan.
Thank you. Christine asks, in terms of direct mail, how many pages do you recommend? More and more, I have been getting packages that are 4 double-sided pages.
So on one of the webinars I watched, they were just sharing research that long works. And we typically do 2-page, back and front, but a lot of research shows that longer appeal letters and longer emails are more effective, believe it or not. I was surprised because I like short and sweet personally, but that's not what the research is showing. So again, though, every page costs money. And so to me, it would be better to do, a 1-page double-sided with a response envelope, which I do think is very important to include a response envelope. So it's easy for people to send it back. You can have them put their own postage on it, but it really does help a lot to do that. But
that's fine.
But other than that, I think I would just say anything is better than nothing. And, if you do have money and a big mailing list, it might be worth testing yourself to see what results you get by sending some people 2-page and some a 4-page, and you'd have to then be able to track, on the response envelope or card, you'd want it to look a little different. So when it came back, you knew what they were responding to.
So we have lots of comments saying, thank you, great information. Another person who would be interested, Anastasia, in more information or a seminar even on how to do a walk or a run fundraising event. And that's all the questions I actually see, unless anybody has anything else.
But let me say those people, the ones interested in the walk, I'm happy to just go over our materials and what we did. We did a walk in here in Reno for years. So, and I do have all the materials. So if somebody wanted some individualized guidance on that, I'm happy to go over it.
And Rachel added a post about a direct ask. And, you know, if anybody is doing direct mail for the first time or feels unsure, if you want to send us your draft, I don't mind reading your draft over and making recommendations. I feel very fortunate that I actually worked closely with Michael Mountain and Stephen Hirano at Best Friends for many years and learned so much from them. And they were always so generous in sharing information. So the one thing I would warn you is you will probably get a lot of edits from Diane and I if you send it, but we would be very happy to offer advice if you send us something before you send it out.
Right. And I think Rachel was responding to the question about directly asking people who receive low-cost services through
Okay.
her
Sorry.
organization. So, and whether or not that seemed appropriate. But Rachel, it sounds like Bonney and Diane would be happy to talk directly to you about it.
Yeah.
And Christine responded, she was the one who asked about the longer letters, appeals and newsletters. And she said, thank you. She can't see wasting the paper, but maybe that's an opportunity. She prefers succinct as well. Okay, any more questions? Anybody? Any other comments, Diane, Bonney?
No, just our pleasure, and look forward to possibly talking to some of you individually.
Well, Bonney and Diane, thank you for a very informative session this evening. We greatly appreciate it here at the Mass Animal Coalition. And for anybody who's wondering, Ann Lindsay meant to be here, but she needed a little work on a crown and she was able to get into a dentist. And so I'm pinch hitting for her. But we really appreciate you being part of MAC and Humane Network. Thank you for sharing your talent and knowledge with us. And thank you, everyone. We'll get the information out to you, as I said, so you will have this recording and you'll have the actual slides. And you'll be able to reach out to Bonney and Diane for more ideas. Thank you.
Thank you, and good evening.